A red dress, a crystal chandelier, and a CEO everyone feared. By midnight, she was stumbling. One man holding nothing but a glass of water offered her more than help. He offered hope. Share where you're watching from in the comments and hit subscribe so you never miss stories like this. By 11:30, Victoria Hayes, Chicago's most feared CEO, couldn't remember how many champagne glasses she'd emptied. The Palmer House ballroom blurred at the edges. Her designer heels felt like stilts beneath her, and when she tried to leave, the corridor stretched impossibly long. She was drowning, and everyone who saw it turned away. The annual Tech Innovation Gala had started 6 hours earlier, with Victoria commanding the room like always. Her crimson gown was designed to make a statement. At 38, she'd built Hayes Technology Group cloud security software into an industry titan. Forbes featured her last month. Competitors called her ruthless. Her 2,000 employees called her Ice Queen. Tonight, though, the ice was melting into champagne. She'd started drinking at 8. Just one glass, she'd told herself. But the penthouse she'd returned to was empty, had been empty for years. So one glass became 2. 2 became 4. By 10, she'd stopped counting. Marcus Chen, her VP of Finance, had noticed. His eyes tracked her unsteady movements before he carefully looked away. They all looked away. Safer that way. Nobody wanted to acknowledge that Victoria Hayes was human enough to stumble. The ballroom spun with Chicago's power elite, CEOs in tailored tuxedos, tech innovators speaking in disruption and acronyms. Crystal chandeliers scattered light across marble floors. A jazz quartet played notes that felt too loud against Victoria's pounding head. She needed to leave, needed air, needed to get home before someone took photos. But when she pulled out her phone to call her driver, the screen swam. She pressed the wrong number 3 times. Voicemail. She tried again. Nothing. The corridor outside the ballroom felt cold after the body heat of networking. Victoria leaned against the wall, one hand trailing along smooth panels for balance. Her evening bag slipped from her fingers. She bent to retrieve it, and the world tilted dangerously. A sound escaped her throat. Not quite a sob, not quite a laugh, just the noise of someone who'd built an empire on control, losing her grip on everything. Through the ballroom doors, she could see Marcus still networking, could see Rebecca, her assistant, who'd asked 3 times if Victoria needed anything before finally giving up and going home. Could see all those executives who'd smiled at her earlier, pretending they didn't notice their boss stumbling in the hallway. Victoria closed her eyes, tried to breathe, tried to remember how to summon the armor she wore so well. But the champagne had dissolved. It left her exposed and alone in a corridor that wouldn't stop moving. She didn't hear the footsteps approaching, didn't realize someone was there until a voice spoke, careful and kind. "Miss Hayes, are you okay?" Daniel. Brooks had been watching from the edge of the ballroom for the past hour, a glass of water warming in his hand. He wore his one good suit, 5 years old, but still presentable. His shoes were polished to hide the worn leather. He looked the part of a mid-level manager at a tech company, which is exactly what he was. At 35, Daniel managed operations for Hayes Technology Group's Midwest region. He coordinated product delivery, managed a team of 20, and left every day at exactly 5 o'clock to pick up his daughter from school. His colleagues called him reliable. His boss called him consistent. Nobody called him ambitious, because ambition required wanting something beyond what Daniel already had. Emma safe. Emma happy, Emma growing up with a father who showed up. The mandatory attendance email for tonight's gala had arrived 3 weeks ago. Professional attire required. Spouses welcome. Daniel had stared at that last line until it blurred. Spouses. As if he had one. As if Sarah hadn't been dead for 3 years. He checked his phone again. A photo from Mrs. Chen, their 72-year-old neighbor. Emma asleep, dark curls spread across her pillow-stuffed rabbit clutched tight. Daniel's chest loosened slightly. She was safe. He could breathe. Around him, executives drank freely. Champagne flowed like water at corporate expense. They laughed too loudly, stumbled slightly, reached for another glass without thinking. To them, alcohol was celebration. Networking fuel. Part of the ritual. To Daniel, it was the weapon that killed his wife. His wife had died 3 years ago. A drunk driver. That's all Daniel let himself think about tonight. So he stood at the edge of Chicago's power elite, holding water, watching Victoria Hayes unravel in slow motion. He'd noticed her drinking throughout the evening. Everyone had. But people kept turning away, fear outweighing concern. Daniel knew that isolation. After Sarah died, people brought casseroles and vanished. Left him alone with a 4-year-old, and grief so massive he didn't think he'd survive. He remembered standing in his kitchen at 3 a.m, Emma crying in her crib, thinking this is what drowning feels like on dry land. He'd survived it, barely. With Mrs. Chen's help and therapy and the sheer necessity of showing up for Emma every single day. Now he watched Victoria stumble toward the exit, saw her phone slip from her fingers, heard that small, broken sound escape her throat. And everyone else looked away. Emma's voice echoed in his head. His daughter asked him every night, "Daddy, did you help someone today?" He wanted to tell her yes. Daniel set down his water glass and followed the woman in red into the corridor. Victoria's eyes took a moment to focus on him. When they did, confusion crossed her face. She didn't know him. Why would she? He was operations management 3 levels below the executive floor. Just another employee. "I'm Daniel Brooks," he said quietly. "I work in your company. I wanted to make sure you're okay." "I'm fine." The words came out careful, over-pronounced. "Your driver isn't answering." Victoria looked at her phone like it had betrayed her. "He will. He always does." Daniel watched her sway slightly, recognized the stubborn pride of someone who'd spent their whole life being strong, refusing to admit when they needed help. He'd worn that same expression for months after Sarah died, insisting he was fine while falling apart. "Ms. Hayes," he kept his voice even. "Let me drive you home." Her head snapped up. "I don't need—" She stopped, pressed her lips together. Some war played out behind her eyes. "Then do you know who I am?" "Yes, ma'am. You're the CEO. And right now, you're someone whose driver isn't coming. Please let me help." Something in his tone cut through the champagne fog. Not pity, not judgment. Just steady certainty that this was the right thing to do. Victoria studied him, trying to focus. "Brooks, you said Daniel Brooks. Operations, 4 years with the company, and you're offering to drive me home." She laughed, bitter. "Do you know how that looks?" "I know how it would look if I left you here." Daniel's voice was quiet but firm. "And I couldn't live with that." The honesty reached her. Victoria closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, exhaustion had replaced defiance. "Fine. Take me home." But this, she gestured vaguely between them. This never happened. "Yes, ma'am." Daniel guided her toward the exit, not touching, but hovering close in case she stumbled. They passed a cluster of executives in the lobby. Marcus Chen looked up, did a visible double-take. His mouth opened as if to speak, then closed. He turned back to his conversation like he'd seen nothing. That's what they all did. Saw nothing. Protected themselves. Outside, November air cut sharp and cold. Victoria shivered in her thin gown. Daniel shrugged off his suit jacket, without thinking draped it over her shoulders. She pulled it tight, looking suddenly small. "You don't have to be nice to me," she said. "I'm just making sure you get home safe." His car was exactly what she'd expect. A 10-year-old Honda Accord with a dent in the rear bumper. A child's booster seat sat in back. Pine air freshener hung from the rearview mirror. Victoria stared at the booster seat. You have a child? A daughter. Emma, she's 7. Something flickered across Victoria's face, too quick to name. She slid into the passenger seat carefully. Daniel closed her door, walked around to the driver's side, gave himself a moment to breathe. This was happening. He was driving his drunk boss home. Tomorrow could bring consequences. Tonight he was just helping someone who needed it. He started the car. Pop music played Emma's favorite station. Daniel quickly turned it off, leaving them in silence. Seatbelt, he said gently. Victoria fumbled with it. He reached over carefully to help. Their fingers brushed. She jerked back. Sorry, he said. Just drive. Daniel pulled onto Michigan Avenue, city lights reflecting off Lake Michigan. The Chicago skyline glittered ahead of them, beautiful and cold. Like Victoria Hayes in every company meeting he'd attended. Beautiful, cold, untouchable. But she was touchable now. Human. Just a woman who'd had too much to drink and couldn't find her driver. They drove in silence for 5 minutes. Daniel kept his hands at 10 and 2 eyes on the road. He could feel Victoria watching him from the passenger seat, trying to figure him out. Why don't you drink? Her question cut through the quiet. Daniel's hands tightened on the wheel. What at the gala? Everyone drinks at these things. You had water all night. I noticed. Of course she noticed. Victoria Hayes noticed everything. The truth sat heavy in his throat. He could deflect, could lie. But something about the darkness and the moment made him honest. My wife was killed by a drunk driver 3 years ago. I haven't touched alcohol since. Victoria went very still. The silence stretched, broken only by the hum of tires on pavement. I'm sorry, she whispered. Thank you. That's why you helped me. Because of what happened to your wife. Partly. Mostly because it was the right thing to do. Daniel signaled changed lanes, the motion automatic after years of Chicago driving, and because my daughter asks me every night, Daddy, did you help someone today? I wanted to tell her yes. Victoria absorbed this. When she spoke again, her voice was softer, unguarded in a way he suspected she rarely allowed. What was her name? Your wife? Sarah. He could say it now without choking. Progress. We met in college. She had this laugh that made everyone around her start laughing too. Emma has the same laugh. How old was Emma when... 4. Old enough to know her mummy wasn't coming home. Not old enough to understand why. Victoria's breath caught. I can't imagine. I hope you never have to. Daniel's voice was steady. 3 years of therapy had given him that much. But I understand loneliness. I understand what it's like when people turn away because dealing with your pain is too uncomfortable. Silence filled the car again. Then Victoria spoke so quietly he almost missed it. Everyone thinks success means having everything. The money, the power, the respect. But I go home to an empty penthouse every night. 38th floor, floor-to-ceiling windows, view of the entire city. And nobody's there. Nobody asks about my day. Nobody cares if I show up or not. Daniel glanced at her, then back at the road. That sounds lonely. It is. Simple admission. No self-pity, just truth. I spent 20 years building a company. Built it so high that I'm standing at the top alone. Is that why you were drinking tonight? She let out a sharp breath. You're direct. I have a 7-year-old. She doesn't do subtle. That pulled a real laugh from Victoria, small but genuine. I imagine not. What's she like? Daniel felt his face soften. It always did when he talked about Emma. She's incredible. Smart funny, asks a million questions. She loves art and horses and those plastic unicorns that are everywhere now. Scared of thunderstorms but pretends she's not. Gives the best hugs in the world. She sounds wonderful. She is. She's everything. Daniel's voice carried the weight of 3 years raising her alone. After Sarah died, Emma was the only reason I kept going. Still is. Making sure she feels safe, loved, protected, that's my job. Everything else is just details. Victoria turned to look at him properly. Her eyes were clearer now, the fresh air and conversation cutting through some of the champagne haze. You're a good father, I can tell. I try. Some days are harder than others. Do you have family helping? My parents retired to Arizona. Sarah's parents are in Milwaukee dealing with their own grief. We manage. Mrs. Chen, our neighbor, helps with pickup when I can't leave work. Emma does homework at her kitchen table, eats homemade dumplings. It works. It sounds hard. It is. Daniel's honesty surprised him. He rarely talked about this. But it's also beautiful. Having someone who needs you, who trusts you completely. That grounds you. Gives purpose. Victoria was quiet for a long moment. I don't have that. Purpose beyond the company, I mean. Without Hayes Technology Group, I'm not sure who I am. Maybe that's something worth figuring out, maybe. They'd reached her building, a gleaming tower on the magnificent mile. The doorman's eyes widened when he saw Victoria in a Honda's passenger seat. Daniel pulled to the curb. We're here. Victoria fumbled with the door handle. Daniel got out, walked around, opened it for her. Helped her stand on unsteady legs. Thank you, she said. For this. For not leaving me there. You're welcome. I can make it from here. I'll walk you up. Make sure you get inside safe. That's not necessary. Please. Daniel's voice was firm. Let me make sure you're home safe. Then I'll go. She studied him, some calculation happening behind tired eyes. Then nodded. All right. The doorman rushed to open doors. Ms. Hayes. Good evening. She nodded regally, the CEO mask sliding back even though she was wearing Daniel's jacket over her evening gown. They rode the elevator to the penthouse floor in silence. Victoria leaned against the wall, eyes closed. Almost there, Daniel said quietly. The elevator opened directly into her apartment. Of course it did. Daniel stepped into wealth beyond anything he'd imagined. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased Chicago from every angle. Furniture that probably cost more than his car. Everything white glass chrome, beautiful and sterile. Like a museum, not a home. Victoria stumbled slightly. Daniel caught her elbow, guided her to the white leather sofa. Sit, I'll get water. You don't have to, I know. Sit anyway. He found the kitchen all marble and stainless steel, filled a crystal glass with filtered water, brought it back to find Victoria slumped on the couch, looking exhausted and young and lost. Here. He set the glass on the coffee table. Drink this. She opened her eyes, looked at the water, then at him. Why are you doing this? Doing what being kind. You could use this against me. Everyone in that company would kill for leverage. Daniel crouched so they were eye level. His knees protested he wasn't young anymore, but he wanted her to really hear this. Because I know what it's like when no one's there. When Sarah died, people brought casseroles and disappeared. Left me alone with a 4-year-old, and grief so big I thought I'd suffocate. I learned that real kindness is rare. So if I can be that for someone else, I will. Victoria's eyes filled. She blinked furiously, refusing to let tears fall. You're a good man, Daniel Brooks. I'm just trying to be. He pulled out his phone. What's your number? I'll text you so you can let me know you're okay tomorrow. She recited it. He sent a quick message. This is Daniel. Hope you feel better. Her phone buzzed on the table. She picked it up, read the message. Something unreadable crossed her face. Thank you, she whispered. You're welcome. Good night, Ms. Hayes. Victoria. She looked up at him. Call me Victoria. Good night, Victoria. Daniel let himself out. In the elevator, he pressed his forehead against the cool metal wall and exhaled slowly. What just happened? He drove his boss home drunk, saw her vulnerable and human, had real conversation in a car that smelled like pine and Emma's juice boxes. Tomorrow might bring consequences. Tonight, he helped someone who needed it. He drove home through empty streets, mind replaying the conversation. Victoria Hayes wasn't what he expected. Under the armor, she was just lonely, searching for something she'd built her life to avoid needing. Mrs. Chen was dozing in his armchair when he got home, knitting abandoned in her lap. She woke at the sound of the door. "Daniel, how was the party long?" "Thank you for staying with Emma. Never trouble. Sweet girl, you're Emma. She wanted to wait up, but I promised you'd check on her." After Mrs. Chen left, Daniel went to Emma's room. She was sprawled across her bed, blanket kicked off, rabbit clutched close. He pulled the covers over her carefully. She stirred. "Daddy, I'm home, sweetheart. Go back to sleep." "Did you help someone tonight?" Daniel thought of Victoria's grateful eyes, her whispered, "Thank you." "Yeah, baby. I did." Emma smiled without opening her eyes. "Good. That's what heroes do." He kissed her forehead. In his own room, he saw Victoria's text waiting. "I'm okay. Thank you for tonight. I won't forget this." He stared at those words. She won't forget. For some reason, that mattered more than it should. Sunlight stabbed through floor-to-ceiling windows. Victoria had forgotten to close the blackout shades. Her head pounded with each heartbeat, a drum solo behind her eyes. Her mouth tasted like regret and expensive champagne. She lay still, piecing together last night. The gala, too much drinking, the stumble, the broken glass, faces turning away, and Daniel Brooks. The memories sharpened painfully. His modest car, the booster seat, his quiet voice telling her about Sarah, about Emma who asked if Daddy helped someone, the way he brought water without judgment. On the coffee table sat a crystal glass half full. Physical evidence. Last night happened. She got drunk at her company's gala. A mid-level manager had to drive her home. She let him see her weak. Victoria sat up slowly, room spinning briefly before settling. Shame flooded through her, hot and thick. This wasn't who Victoria Hayes was supposed to be. Victoria Hayes controlled every situation. Victoria Hayes never showed vulnerability to employees. Except she did. Last night she did exactly that. Her phone showed 6 missed calls from Rebecca, 12 urgent emails, the world spinning on while Victoria slept off her mistakes. She scrolled through messages waiting for the gossip to start, waiting for someone to reference last night to hint at what they saw. Nothing. Just business as usual. Rebecca asking about Monday's schedule, Marcus sending quarterly projections, the IT director needing budget approval. No whispers, no knowing comments. Like last night didn't happen, except it did. And Daniel Brooks knew. Victoria's finger hovered over his number. She could delete it, pretend she never received it. Show up Monday as if nothing happened, Ice Queen intact. He'd take her cue and never mention it. That's what the old Victoria would do. The Victoria who confused power with protection, who told herself loneliness was a reasonable price for success. But something about last night cracked something open. Maybe the champagne loosening her tongue. Maybe Daniel's kindness when he could have walked away. Maybe sitting in that car listening to a man talk about his daughter with such tender love. Or maybe realizing she'd been lying to herself for years. The empty penthouse wasn't success. It was symptom. Victoria typed a response. Deleted it. Typed again. I'm okay. Thank you for tonight. I won't forget this. She stared at the words for a full minute before hitting send. An acknowledgement. A crack in the armor. Admission that last night happened and mattered. Her phone buzzed immediately. Just a simple thumbs-up emoji from Daniel. No lengthy response. No fishing for favor, just acknowledgement received and accepted. Victoria set the phone down. Something loosened in her chest. He wasn't going to use this against her. Somehow she knew that with certainty. When was the last time someone cared about her well-being with no ulterior motive? She couldn't remember. Victoria stood slowly, made her way to the bathroom. Her reflection stared back. Smudged makeup, tangled hair, yesterday's vulnerability written in every line. She looked human, real. Maybe that wasn't the worst thing. She showered, letting hot water wash away physical remnants of last night. But the memories stayed sharp. Daniel's quiet strength. His daughter. The fact that he answered yes to Emma's question because of Victoria. Nobody had helped Victoria in years. She'd made sure of that. Built her empire specifically so she'd never need help. Never be vulnerable. Never give anyone power over her. But power was just another word for lonely. She dressed in comfortable clothes, yoga pants, and a soft sweater, made coffee in her pristine kitchen, carried it to the window and stared out at the city below. Sunday stretched ahead empty as always. She could work, review presentations for Monday's board meeting, return those urgent emails. Instead, Victoria sat on her white couch and thought about a 7-year-old girl named Emma, who probably woke up this morning asking about the fancy party. About Daniel making breakfast, probably burning it based on how he talked about his cooking. About small, ordinary morning rituals of a family. She picked up her phone again, pulled up Daniel's number. She could invite him to coffee. Say she wanted to discuss last night privately. But not today. Today she'd let the hangover fade, let herself process the fact that someone saw her broken and didn't turn away. Tomorrow, though. Tomorrow she'd face Daniel Brooks and make a choice. Pretend it never happened. Or acknowledge the truth that last night changed something fundamental. That she didn't want to be untouchable anymore. She wanted to be human. Monday morning arrived with Chicago's typical November gloom. Daniel dropped Emma at school, watching her run toward the entrance with her purple backpack bouncing. She turned at the door, waved big. He waved back, stomach tight with anxiety. Today he faced Victoria Hayes. He had no idea what to expect. Termination for seeing too much cold professionalism designed to erase vulnerability. Or something else entirely. The elevator to Hayes Technology Group's headquarters felt slower than usual. Daniel adjusted his tie 3 times, checked his reflection in polished doors. He looked like a man heading to his execution. The office hummed with Monday energy. People clutching coffee, urgent emails flying, someone already raising their voice in a conference room. Daniel made it to his desk without incident, opened his laptop, tried to focus on delivery schedules. His phone rang. Internal line. Daniel Brooks. Mr. Brooks, this is Rebecca Chen, Ms. Hayes' assistant. Ms. Hayes would like to see you. Now, please. His heart dropped. Of course. I'll be right up. He stood on unsteady legs. Grabbed his phone, his portfolio, nothing useful, but something to hold. The walk to the elevator was endless. Sarah from accounting raised her eyebrows. Tom from IT mouthed good luck. Nobody got summoned to the CEO's office unless they were being promoted or fired, and Daniel hadn't done anything promotion-worthy lately. The executive floor was glass and steel and hushed importance. Rebecca sat at her desk, immaculate and efficient. She looked up when Daniel approached. Go right in. She's expecting you. Daniel knocked once. A voice called, Come in. Victoria's office was stunning. Windows on 2 walls showcased Chicago's skyline. Minimalist furniture in chrome and leather. A desk so clean, nobody seemed to actually work there, though he knew Victoria logged more hours than anyone. She stood by the window silhouetted against grey morning light. Navy suit hair pulled back severe. The untouchable CEO was back. Daniel's stomach sank. So that's how this would go. Bury it under professional distance? Victoria turned. She looked tired, makeup not quite hiding the circles under her eyes, but something in her expression was softer than he'd ever seen in company meetings. Daniel, thank you for coming. She gestured to chairs facing her desk. Please sit. He sat. She stayed standing briefly, then made a decision. Moved to the chair beside him instead of behind her desk. Equal ground. I wanted to talk about Friday night, she said. Ms. Hayes, you don't have to. Please, let me say this. She folded her hands in her lap. They trembled slightly. I got drunk at my company's gala. I couldn't find my driver. I was stumbling, and every single person who saw me turned away. Except you. Daniel stayed quiet. You had every reason to walk past. I'm your boss. Getting involved was risky. You had somewhere to be. But you stopped. You drove me home. You made sure I was safe. And you asked for nothing in return. I was just doing the right thing. I know. You said that. Victoria's smile was small, sad. But Daniel, in my world, nobody does the right thing without calculating what they'll get. Nobody helps without expecting payment. You weren't calculating. You were just kind. She met his eyes. I wanted to thank you. Properly. I wanted you to know that what you did mattered. You're welcome. I also want to apologize for putting you in that position, for being unprofessional. She looked away. For being so drunk I needed rescuing. We all have bad nights. Not like that. Not in front of employees. She took a breath. I've been thinking about what you said. About your daughter asking if you helped someone. Emma. Emma. Victoria said the name carefully. You said she asks every night, and Friday you got to tell her yes because of me. That's right. No one asks me questions like that. No one checks if I helped anyone beyond profits and market shares. I've built my whole life around being successful, and somewhere I forgot to build anything else. Her voice dropped. I forgot how to be a person. Daniel didn't know what to say. Victoria walked back to the window. I want to offer you a promotion. VP of Operations. Your work over the past 4 years has been exemplary. You're exactly what this company needs. Daniel's mind reeled. VP. That was 3 levels up. Corner office, 6 figures, security for Emma's future. But something made him hesitate. Why? She turned. Because you're qualified. Am I, or is this about Friday night? Both, honest at least. You are qualified, Daniel. But yes, Friday night showed me something. Character matters. Integrity matters. This company is full of brilliant people who'd step over their own mothers for promotion. You're brilliant, and you stepped up to help someone who could ruin you. That's who I want on my team. Daniel thought of Emma. The college fund barely growing. The apartment getting too small. The worn shoes he polished to hide age. But he also thought of school pickups. Bedtime stories. The promise to Sarah's memory that Emma came first. What are the hours? Victoria blinked. I'm sorry. The hours. For VP of Operations, what's the schedule? It's demanding. Leadership meets at 7 in the morning. Late nights are common. Some weekends. Significant time commitment. I pick Emma up from school at 3:30 every day. I'm home for dinner at 6. I don't work weekends unless it's emergency. Can the role accommodate that? Victoria stared. You're negotiating. I'm asking what's possible. I'll never be the VP who logs 80-hour weeks. My daughter needs me. That comes first. Always. Something shifted in Victoria's expression. Respect. Or recognition. Then we make it work for you. Flexible hours. Remote when needed. Your daughter comes first. I mean that. Why? Because you remind me there's more to life than this. She gestured at the office, the skyline, the trappings of success. And maybe if I have someone on my team who prioritizes family, I'll remember to prioritize being human. Daniel studied her. The CEO mask had cracks now. This wasn't about business. This was about two people isolated in different ways, suddenly seeing each other as real. Can I think about it? Of course. Take a week. Talk to your daughter. Victoria held out her hand. And Daniel, whether you accept or not, Friday night stays between us. You have my word. He shook her hand. Her grip was firm, warm. Human. Thank you, Victoria. Using her first name felt both strange and right. She smiled just a little. You're welcome. Daniel accepted the promotion after Emma's approval. If it means you're home for dinner, Daddy, then yes. Simple for her. So he made it simple for himself. His first week as VP was surreal. Corner office with a view, his name on the directory, colleagues who'd barely noticed him now asking for input approval time. But the strangest part was Victoria. She was different. Everyone noticed, though nobody could articulate how. She still led with precision, still made decisions with clarity. But there was softness at the edges. She listened more, asked questions instead of making pronouncements. In leadership meetings, she turned to Daniel frequently. Daniel, what do you think became her common refrain? The first time she asked about a major acquisition, other executives stared. Marcus Chen's jaw dropped. Daniel cleared his throat. I think we need to consider the human cost. The company we're acquiring has 200 employees. What happens to them post-merger? If we're laying off half to cut costs, that's 100 families affected. Is the profit margin worth that silence? Nobody talked about human cost in these meetings. It was numbers growth domination. Victoria nodded slowly. You're right. Marcus revised the proposal. Minimize layoffs. If this acquisition can't be done ethically, it's not worth doing. Marcus sputtered. Victoria, the whole point is cost-cutting. The point is sustainable growth, not growth that destroys lives. Her tone allowed no argument. Revise it. After the meeting, she caught Daniel in the hallway. Thank you. For what? For remembering that numbers represent people. They fell into step together, walking toward elevators. These small moments of conversation felt more real than any meeting. How's Emma? It still surprised him, her genuine interest. Good. She's in the school play next week, playing a tree. Victoria laughed. A tree. Apparently a very important tree. She has 2 lines and practices them non-stop. Daniel smiled. She asked if I'm bringing anyone to watch. What did you tell her, that Mrs. Chen and I will be her cheering section? He hesitated, then took a risk. She'd love to meet you, though. Knows I work for someone important now. Wants to meet the boss who lets Daddy come home for dinner. Victoria stopped walking. She knows about me. Some. I told her I got a new position that means I can keep our routine. She asked what my boss is like. I said you were fair, kind, that you understood family comes first. You said I was kind. Victoria's voice was quiet. You are. I'm not. People at this company call me Ice Queen, Dragon Lady. Worse. Then they don't know you. Daniel met her eyes. The woman who offered me flexibility for Emma. That's kind. Who revised an acquisition to save jobs. That's kind. Maybe they see armor. I see the person underneath. Victoria looked away, but not before Daniel caught the shine in her eyes. I'd like to meet Emma, if that's appropriate. Would you come to her play next Friday at 7? Just an elementary school production. But she'd be thrilled. I don't want to intrude. You wouldn't be. You'd be a friend coming to support her. If you want. Victoria considered this. Finally nodded. I'd love to come. In the elevator, Daniel leaned against the wall and exhaled slowly. He just invited his boss to his daughter's school play, either the smartest or stupidest thing he'd ever done. But when he picked up Emma and told her someone from work was coming to watch her be a tree, her face lit like Christmas. "Really, your boss is coming, if that's okay with you? That's so cool, Daddy. I'm going to be the best tree ever." That night, Emma practiced her 2 lines until Daniel knew them by heart. And lying in bed staring at the ceiling, Daniel realized something fundamental had shifted. Victoria Hayes wasn't just his boss anymore. She was becoming his friend. Maybe something more. The play was a disaster in the most endearing way. 2 kids forgot their lines. The backdrop fell during Act 2. Emma, playing tree number 3, delivered her lines with such dramatic flair that half the audience laughed. Victoria, sitting between Daniel and Mrs. Chen in the crowded elementary school auditorium, laughed until tears streamed. She wore jeans and a sweater hair in a ponytail. She looked younger, lighter, happy. When the show ended, Emma ran off stage straight into Daniel's arms. "Did you see me, Daddy?" I remembered both lines. "You were perfect. The best tree I've ever seen." Emma noticed Victoria. "Are you my daddy's boss?" Victoria crouched to Emma's level. "I am. And you must be the famous Emma I've heard about." "I'm famous. Your daddy talks about you constantly. Says you're the smartest, funniest, kindest girl in the world." Emma beamed. "Did you like the play?" "I loved it. Especially the trees. You have real stage presence." "What's that?" "It means you command attention. Everyone watches you because you're confident and natural. It's a gift." They drove Emma and Mrs. Chen home. Victoria in the front seat like she belonged. Emma chatted from the back about the play, her friends, her upcoming art project. Victoria listened, asking questions, laughing. Mrs. Chen studied Victoria with sharp eyes. As they pulled up to the building, she patted Daniel's shoulder. "This one's a keeper," she whispered in Mandarin, nodding at Victoria. After Mrs. Chen left and Emma was in bed, Victoria lingered in the doorway. "Thank you for inviting me. That was the most fun I've had in years." "A children's school play?" "Yes, because it was real. No agendas, no politics, just kids being kids." She looked down the hallway where Emma's room glowed. "She's wonderful, Daniel." "She is. She's my whole world. I can see why." Victoria hesitated. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course. Do you ever get tired? Doing it all alone?" Daniel leaned against the doorframe. "Every day. But then Emma hugs me and tells me I'm her hero, and somehow I find energy to keep going." "You are a hero. Not the cape-wearing kind. The real kind. Who shows up every single day. So are you. You just haven't let yourself believe it." Victoria's eyes shone in dim hallway light. For a moment they just looked at each other. Something passed between them, unspoken but undeniable. Then Emma called. "Daddy, can I have water?" The moment broke. Daniel smiled apologetically. "Duty calls." "Of course. Good night, Daniel." "Night, Victoria. Thanks for coming." She walked to the elevator. Daniel watched until she disappeared inside. Then he went to Emma's room, brought water, tucked her in again. "I like your boss," Emma said sleepily. "She's pretty and nice. You should marry her." Daniel nearly dropped the water glass. "What?" "She makes you smile, like Mommy used to in pictures. That means she makes you happy. You should marry people who make you happy. It's not that simple, sweetheart. Why not?" "Why not, indeed." Daniel kissed her forehead. "Sleep, baby." But as he closed her door, Daniel admitted Emma might be on to something. Victoria made him smile, made him feel seen in a way he hadn't since Sarah died, made him believe his heart could hold more than grief. The next weeks proved Emma right. Victoria became a fixture in their lives, pizza nights on the worn couch, park on Saturdays pushing Emma on swings, Daniel watching with something warm and terrifying growing in his chest. At work, their partnership deepened. Victoria trusted his judgment. Daniel challenged her assumptions. They balanced each other. But the company noticed. Whispers circulated. VP Brooks and the CEO are awfully close. Have you seen them together? Something's there. He probably slept his way to the promotion. One evening in the parking garage, Marcus confronted Daniel. You're playing a dangerous game, Brooks. I don't know what you mean. Don't be naive. Everyone knows you and Victoria are involved. Dating the boss. Very convenient. I'm not dating Victoria. Even as he said it, Daniel wondered if it was true. We're friends. Friends. Marcus's smile was ugly. Just be careful. When it ends, and it will, you'll be the one who falls. She's the CEO. You're replaceable. The words stung because there was truth in them. But Daniel kept his voice level. I'll take my chances. What Marcus didn't understand was that this wasn't about career advancement. This was about two lonely people finding something real. About Victoria laughing at Emma's jokes. About Daniel seeing past the CEO mask. This was about falling in love, even though neither had quite admitted it yet. 3 months after the gala, Daniel and Victoria sat in her office late Thursday evening. Everyone else had gone home. The building was quiet except for heating vents and distant cleaning equipment. They were reviewing budgets, but the conversation had drifted. Victoria asked about Emma's art project. Daniel mentioned Emma asking more questions about her mother lately. She wanted to know if it's okay to love someone who's not here anymore, and also make room for new people, Daniel said quietly. I told her yes. That love isn't limited. Hearts expand. Victoria set down her pen. What prompted that? Honestly, you. She looked up sharply. Me. She asks about you constantly. When are you coming over? Can Victoria see my art project? Does Victoria like the same books? Daniel smiled. She told me last week she wishes you could be her mom. Victoria's eyes filled. She blinked furiously. She said that. She did. I told her adults don't just become parents because kids wish it. But she asked if I wanted that too. If I wanted you to be more than my friend. The air charged with possibility. What did you tell her? Victoria's voice was barely audible. I told her I needed to think about it. Have you, Victoria? Daniel moved his chair closer. I think about it constantly. How Emma lights up when you walk in. How you make me laugh. How you understand loneliness. How you've become the best part of my day. Daniel. Let me finish. Please. He took a breath. But I also think about Emma. If we do this, if we cross this line, you're in her life. Really in it. And if it doesn't work, if we break up and you leave, she doesn't just lose my friend. She loses someone she's learning to love. I can't let her lose another person. Victoria nodded slowly. I understand. You're right to protect her. But I need you to know something. She took his hand first time she'd initiated contact. I'm not going anywhere. What's happening between us terrifies me, because I've spent my life avoiding exactly this. Avoiding needing someone. But Daniel, when I'm with you and Emma, I'm not scared. I'm home! Daniel's throat tightened. You mean that? I do. I love spending time with you both. I love how Emma explains things in excruciating detail. I love that you burn breakfast but keep trying. I love that you call me out when I'm too CEO and not enough person. I love... She trailed off. Say it. I love you. Both of you. I know it's fast and complicated, but it's true. Daniel didn't let himself overthink. He leaned forward and kissed her. soft at first, tentative. Then Victoria kissed back, and the world narrowed to this. Her hand in his hair, his palm cradling her face, coffee and possibility. When they broke apart, both breathless. "I love you too," Daniel said. "Have for a while. Just didn't know if I was allowed." "Allowed, you're my boss. You're Victoria Hayes. You could have anyone. I don't want anyone. I want you." She rested her forehead against his. "I want this messy, complicated, beautiful thing. You and Emma and me. A family. A family." Daniel tasted the word, found it fit. "Yeah. A family." They sat breathing each other in. Then Daniel pulled back slightly. "We should tell Emma, before she figures it out herself." "She's scary observant." Victoria laughed. "She already knows. Asked me last week if I was going to be her new mum. What did you say I said? That's up to her dad and me, but that I'd love to be part of her family if she'd have me." "What did she say?" She hugged me and said, finally. "Dad's really slow at this stuff." Victoria grinned. "Your 7-year-old understands relationships better than we do." Daniel couldn't argue. Saturday arrived bright and cold. They stood in line at the Art Institute of Chicago, Emma bouncing between them. "We're really going to see real famous paintings, even better than books Victoria promised." Inside the Art Institute, Emma pulled them from gallery to gallery, eyes wide, at paintings she'd only seen in books. But it was the children's workshop that truly captivated her. Victoria and Emma painted side by side, both sticking their tongues out in concentration. Daniel hung back, watching his daughter and his girlfriend. The word felt both strange and right. "You're really good," Emma said, studying Victoria's painting of a sunset. "Thank you. I used to paint when I was younger. Forgot how much I enjoyed it." "Why did you stop?" Victoria paused, brush mid-air. "I got busy with work, building my company. Told myself I'd paint again someday, but someday never came." "You should paint with me." "At our house. Daddy lets me paint in the kitchen." "I'd love that." They found a Renaissance painting titled Mother and Child, a woman cradling an infant. Emma stopped staring. "That's pretty. The mom looks happy." Daniel felt a twinge. They didn't talk about Sarah often, but moments like this reminded him Emma's loss was always present. Victoria knelt beside Emma. "Your daddy told me about your mummy, that she was wonderful and funny and loved you very much." Emma nodded, not looking away. "I don't remember her much. Just pieces. Her laugh. How she smelled like flowers. Daddy shows me pictures. Your daddy says you have her laugh. That's nice carrying a piece of her." "I guess." Emma finally looked at Victoria. "Do you think it's okay if I love you too, even though I had a mom already?" Victoria's eyes shimmered. "Oh, sweetheart, of course. Love isn't limited. Your heart can hold your mummy's memory and still have room for new people. That's what makes hearts special. They expand. That's what Daddy said too. Your daddy's very smart." Emma threw her arms around Victoria's neck. Victoria held her tight, looking over Emma's shoulder at Daniel. The expression on her face was pure, unguarded love. Lunch in the museum cafe. Emma chattering about favorite paintings, sitting between them, holding both their hands across the table. To anyone watching, they looked like a family. Daniel realized they were becoming exactly that. The next month unfolded like a dream. Victoria became part of their routine. Dinner twice a week, helping Emma with homework while Daniel cooked. Friday movie nights, Emma falling asleep between them. Soccer games, Victoria cheering louder than any parent. Daniel's neighbors noticed. Mrs. Chen certainly noticed, giving knowing looks. Other parents at school pickup whispered about the elegant woman with Mr. Brooks. At work, gossip intensified. Nobody said anything directly, but whispers followed Daniel through hallways. Dating the CEO, sleeping his way up. Wonder how long until she gets bored. Daniel ignored it mostly. He knew his work stood on merit. But doubt crept in during quiet moments. What if they're right? What if this is a phase for Victoria? What if she gets bored with playing house and goes back to her penthouse, leaving them behind? Victoria sensed his anxiety one evening. Emma asleep, dishes done. The domestic evening winding down. Victoria had been staying later and later, neither ready to say goodnight. "You're thinking too loud," she said, curled beside him on the couch. "Sorry. Want to talk?" Daniel debated deflecting, chose honesty. "People at work are talking. About us, I know. Does it bother you?" "Only because it bothers you." She shifted to face him. "Daniel, I don't care what they say. I know the truth. You earned your position. This is real." "But what if they're right? What if you wake up one day and realize you don't want this? The small apartment, the single dad with baggage, the quiet life. Is that what you think? That I'm slumming it until something better comes along? I don't know. Your world and mine are so different. You have a penthouse and a company. I have a one-bedroom and a used Honda." Victoria took his face in her hands. "Daniel Brooks, listen. I haven't slept at my penthouse in 3 weeks. Know why? Because it's empty and cold. This is home. This worn couch and burnt toast and Emma's drawings on the fridge. You are home." "Victoria, I'm not finished. I spent 38 years building barriers, convincing myself I didn't need anyone. Then you drove me home drunk and saw past everything I used to hide behind. You didn't see the CEO or the net worth or the reputation. You saw me. And you didn't run. Of course I didn't run. That's not of course to me. Everyone runs eventually. Uses me or fears me or wants something. Except you. You just want me. The real me. Do you know how rare that is?" Daniel pulled her close. "I'm sorry. You're right. I'm letting them get in my head. They're jealous. I'm not exactly easy to work for, and somehow you won both my respect and my heart. They don't understand those are separate." "Are they separate?" Victoria considered. "Maybe not completely. I respect you because of who you are. Your integrity, priorities, kindness. I love you for the same reasons. They're woven together." She kissed him softly. "But for the record, I loved you before I respected you as VP." "You love me," Daniel said, still getting used to hearing it. "Hopelessly. Good, because I love you too." They kissed again, deeper. When they broke apart, Victoria glanced toward Emma's door. "I should go. It's late." But she didn't move. Neither did Daniel. They'd been carefully avoiding this line between dating and commitment, between separate lives and shared ones. Or Daniel said carefully, "You could stay. Not like that. Just stay. Sleep on the couch. Or take my bed. I'll take the couch. Stay because it's late and I don't want you driving tired. Because I don't want to leave Victoria finished." "Yeah." She nodded. "Okay. I'll stay." Daniel got spare pajamas, t-shirt, and sweatpants that swallowed her smaller frame. She emerged from the bathroom looking young and vulnerable without makeup hair down in his clothes. "You can have the bed. I'll take the couch. Don't be ridiculous." The couch is barely long enough for Emma. They argued about it for 5 minutes before Emma appeared in her doorway, rubbing sleep from her eyes. "Why are you both so loud?" "Sorry, sweetie. Victoria's staying over. We were figuring out sleeping arrangements." Emma rolled her eyes. 17 instead of 7. "Victoria sleeps in your room, Daddy. You're grown-ups. That's what grown-ups do when they love each other." "Emma, Mummy's been gone a long time. It's okay if Victoria sleeps in your bed. I know you miss having someone." She said it matter-of-factly wise beyond years. Daniel knelt to her level. "Baby, are you really okay with all this is? With Victoria being here, with me loving someone who's not Mommy? I already told you, yes, Victoria's really nice. She helps me with art and comes to my games. And Daddy, she makes you smile again. Like how you used to smile with Mommy in the pictures. I like when you smile. Emma hugged him. I want you to be happy, Daddy. You're always making sure I'm happy. Now it's your turn. Daniel held his daughter, overwhelmed by her capacity for love. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You just don't listen. Emma pulled back, grinned. Now go to bed. Both of you. Tomorrow's Saturday and you promised pancakes. She padded back to her room, leaving Daniel and Victoria staring at each other. Your daughter just gave us permission to share a bed? Victoria said. Apparently my 7-year-old is more emotionally mature than I am. Lobar, you're terrible at feelings. Hey! Victoria laughed. It's true. You spent a month pretending you didn't love me. Fine. I'm bad at feelings. But I'm good at pancakes. You're really not. You burn them every time. They went to bed, chastely, Victoria on one side, Daniel on the other, careful space between them. Not about sex. About not sleeping alone. About having someone's breathing in darkness to remind you that you matter. Daniel fell asleep to the sound of Victoria's breathing. For the first time since Sarah died, his dreams were peaceful. 2 weeks later, Victoria officially moved some belongings in. Not all. She kept her penthouse kept distance, but her toothbrush sat by his. Her coffee mug had a permanent spot. Half her clothes hung in his closet. They were building something slowly, carefully. Emma helped Victoria figure out the coffee maker. Victoria helped Emma practice times tables. Daniel came home to find them painting at the kitchen table, both covered in acrylic spatters. It felt natural. Right. Terrifying. One evening after Emma's bedtime, Daniel and Victoria sat on the couch with wine. Well, Victoria had wine. Daniel still stuck to water, his promise unchanged. Tell me about Sarah, Victoria said quietly. Daniel tensed. What do you want to know? Anything you want to tell. I'm not trying to replace her. I just want to understand the woman who came before me. Who Emma carries with her. Daniel took a breath. Let himself remember. She was sunshine. That's the best description. She lit up rooms, laughed at terrible jokes, sang off-key in the shower, was terrible at cooking but tried anyway, loved fiercely and forgave easily, made everyone feel like they mattered. She sounds wonderful. She was. I was lucky to have her even for the time we did. Do you still miss her every day? But it's different now. Less like drowning, more like carrying something precious. I'll always love her. She gave me Emma, taught me how to be a partner. Victoria nodded. I'm glad you had that. Me too. Daniel looked at her. But I'm also glad I have this. Have you? For a long time I thought that chapter was closed, that I'd be a single dad forever, and that was enough. But you opened a door I didn't know existed. To what? To believing I could love again, that my heart wasn't broken beyond repair. He set down his glass, took her hand. I know we haven't talked about the future, but I need you to know this is real for me. You're not a rebound. You're everything. I'm scared, Victoria admitted. I've never done this, never let anyone this close, never wanted a family. I don't know if I know how to be what you and Emma need. You already are. You show up, you try, you love us. That's all we need. What if I mess up? Then you mess up. We all do. I burn pancakes and lose my patience when Emma asks the same question 15 times. You'll figure it out. We'll figure it out together. Victoria leaned forward, kissed him softly, then deeper. Daniel responded, pulling her closer. The kiss turned heated, urgent. His hand tangled in her hair. Her fingers traced his jaw. They broke apart, breathing hard. Victoria's eyes were dark pupils blown wide. Emma's asleep, she murmured. She is. We're two adults who love each other. We are. So why do I feel like a teenager? Daniel laughed, breaking tension. Because this matters. We're not just two people hooking up, we're building a life. The stakes are higher. I don't want to wait anymore. Victoria's voice was certain. I've spent my life waiting for the perfect moment. There is no perfect. There's just now. You're sure, Daniel? I'm in your apartment wearing your t-shirt, drinking wine with the man I love while his daughter sleeps down the hall. I've never been more sure. So Daniel stopped overthinking. He cupped her face, feeling her pulse racing beneath his fingertips. When their lips met, she tasted like wine and possibility. The kiss was tentative at first, a question being asked. Then Victoria's fingers tangled in his hair, and the question became an answer. The worn couch beneath them, the distant hum of the refrigerator, Emma's nightlight glowing down the hall. Everything faded except the warmth of her breath, the softness of her lips, the way she fit against him, like coming home. Later, lying tangled in his bed, Victoria traced patterns on Daniel's chest. I was right, she said softly. About what? This feels like home. Daniel pulled her closer, breathed in the scent of her shampoo. Yeah, it does. Monday morning. Daniel and Victoria arrived separately. They'd agreed to keep up appearances. Victoria took her private elevator. Daniel took the regular one with everyone else. But by lunch, the facade cracked. Daniel was in a meeting with department heads when Victoria walked in. She was supposed to be in back-to-back calls all morning. Sorry to interrupt. Daniel, can I borrow you? The room went silent. People glanced at each other. Daniel followed Victoria into the hallway, aware of eyes tracking them. Is something wrong? No. She hesitated. This is ridiculous. I'm the CEO. You're a VP. We're both professionals, and we're sneaking around like we're doing something wrong. We're not sneaking. We're being discreet. I hate discreet. I've lived my whole life calculating optics, managing perception. I'm tired of it. She took his hand. I don't want to hide this. Hide us. Victoria, think about what you're saying. The gossip is already bad. Then we make it official. Let them say whatever they want. I know the truth. You earned your position. This is real. And I'm not ashamed. You want to go public. I want to stop pretending we're just colleagues when everyone knows we're more. I want to have lunch with you without worrying who sees. I want to pick up Emma from school with you. She squeezed his hand. I want to choose us openly. Okay, yeah, let's do it. Victoria grinned, transformed her face, made her look young and reckless. Really, I'm tired of pretending too. They walked back into the meeting holding hands. The shocked silence was almost comical. Marcus's jaw dropped. Sarah from accounting coughed on her coffee. Victoria addressed the room calmly. I'm sure you've noticed Daniel and I have grown close. I want to make it clear we're in a relationship. This doesn't change professional standards. Daniel earned his position through merit and will continue to excel based on abilities. Questions, silence. Tom from IT raised his hand tentatively. Is this allowed HR-wise? I've consulted with HR and legal. As long as Daniel reports to someone other than me directly, which he does, there's no policy violation. Next, Marcus cleared his throat. People will talk, Victoria. People are already talking, Marcus. At least now they'll have facts instead of speculation. She looked around. I know this is unusual, but Daniel and I have found something real and I refuse to hide it. If anyone has concerns about favoritism, my door is open. Otherwise, let's get back to work. She left, squeezing Daniel's hand once. Daniel returned to his presentation, acutely aware of eyes still on him. After the meeting, Sarah cornered him by the coffee machine. So you and Victoria Hayes, huh? Yeah, me and Victoria Hayes. How did that happen? Long story involving a gala and too much champagne, and me being in the right place. Sarah studied him. She's different lately. Happier. Less scary. Is that you? I don't know. Maybe. Well, for what it's worth, I think it's nice. Victoria needed someone to remind her she's human. Apparently that's you. Sarah smiled. Don't screw it up, Brooks. I'll try not to. The next days were a whirlwind. Gossip intensified but changed tone. Instead of sneering, people speculated about wedding dates. Someone started a pool about when Daniel would propose. Emma became a celebrity at school as the girl whose dad is dating a CEO. Through it all, Daniel and Victoria held steady. They didn't hide, but they didn't flaunt. Just two people in love trying to balance careers with building a life. One evening they took Emma to Navy Pier. Ferris wheel cotton candy won a stuffed panda at ring toss. They looked like any other family enjoying Saturday night. Walking back to the car, Emma between them holding both hands, Daniel felt gratitude so intense it almost hurt. A year ago he was alone raising Emma, thinking his chance at love died with Sarah. Now he had Victoria, who loved his daughter like her own, who made him laugh, who reminded him every day that healing was possible. "I love you," he told Victoria over Emma's head. She met his eyes. "I love you too." Emma swung their hands. "And I love both of you. Can we get ice cream? You just ate cotton candy. Ice cream is different, it's frozen. Separate food group." Daniel and Victoria laughed. "Fine. Ice cream it is." The invitation came on thick cardstock. Richard and Margaret Hayes requested Daniel Brooks and his daughter Emma's company for dinner at their Lake Forest home. Victoria groaned when Daniel read it. "They're doing the formal thing. I told them you're not stuffy corporate." They didn't listen. "It's fine, I can do formal. You don't understand. My parents are a lot. Old money, old values, opinions about everything, and they're protective of me and the company. They should be. You're their daughter. They're also going to judge you. Quietly, politely, but they'll judge. Let them." Daniel set down the invitation. "I love you. I love Emma. That's all that matters." Victoria kissed him. "You're remarkable." The following Saturday, Daniel drove them to Lake Forest. Emma fidgeted in her best dress. Victoria was tense, jaw tight. "Relax," Daniel said. "It'll be fine. You don't know my parents." The Hayes estate made Daniel's building look like a shoebox. The driveway was longer than his street. The Tudor mansion had manicured lawns and actual peacocks. "You grew up here?" Daniel asked, awed. "Unfortunately." A butler answered the door. An actual butler. Emma's eyes went huge. "Daddy, are we in a movie?" "Feels like it," Daniel muttered. Richard and Margaret Hayes waited in a formal sitting room that belonged in a museum. Richard was tall, imposing, silver-haired. Margaret elegant in pearls and cashmere. Both studied Daniel and Emma with expressions revealing nothing. "Mother, father, this is Daniel Brooks and his daughter Emma." Victoria's voice was steady, but Daniel felt her hand trembling. "Mr. Brooks." Richard's handshake was firm, assessing. "We've heard a great deal." "Likewise, sir. Thank you for having us." Margaret crouched to Emma's level. "Surprising, Daniel. And you must be Emma. Victoria tells us you're quite the artist." Emma nodded, suddenly shy. "I like to paint. We have an art room upstairs. Perhaps after dinner you'd like to see it." "Really? That would be so cool." Dinner was served in a dining room with a table seating 20. Just 5 of them rattling around in space. Course after course, salad, soup, fish, beef, dessert. Emma tried valiantly to use the right fork, mimicking Daniel. Conversation was stiff. Richard asked about Daniel's background, school, career, family. Daniel answered honestly, not embellishing. Yes, state school. Yes, worked his way up. Yes, parents retired to Arizona. No family money or connections. Richard's expression grew cooler with each answer. Finally, over the main course, he set down his fork. Mr. Brooks, help me understand. You're a VP dating the CEO of a major corporation. Surely you see how this looks. Daddy Victoria's voice carried warning. But Daniel held up a hand. It's okay. Your father has a right to ask. He turned to Richard. Mr. Hayes, I understand your concern. From outside, it probably looks like I'm using your daughter for career advancement. But the timeline doesn't support that. Victoria promoted me after we were already involved. And frankly, the promotion made my life harder. More hours, more responsibility, more scrutiny. Then why accept? Because Victoria believed in me. Because she offered flexibility so I could still be there for Emma. Because turning it down would have been insulting to her judgment. Daniel met Richard's eyes. I didn't pursue your daughter for money or position. I helped her when she needed help, and we discovered we genuinely like each other. Maybe that's hard to believe in your world, but it's the truth. My world. Richard's eyebrow arched. A world where relationships are strategic, where people are assets to be leveraged. I don't operate that way. I'm a single father doing my best to raise a good kid and be a good man. Your daughter makes me happy. I hope I make her happy too. That's all I have to offer. Silence fell. Emma looked between adults reading tension. Margaret spoke for the first time since dinner started. Do you love her very much? And Emma? How does she feel about Victoria? Emma piped up, unable to stay quiet. I love Victoria. She's teaching me to paint, and she comes to my soccer games, and she reads me bedtime stories when she stays over. She's really good at funny voices, and she makes Daddy smile like he used to in pictures with Mommy, which means she makes him happy, and I want Daddy to be happy. Simple honesty of a child. Margaret's expression softened. And you, Emma? Are you happy? So happy. Daddy says our family is small but full of love. Now it's bigger and still full of love. That's good, right? That's very good, sweetheart. Margaret looked at Daniel, then Victoria. You've raised a wonderful daughter, Mr. Brooks. Thank you. Richard was still stone-faced. But Margaret touched his arm, silent communication. If you'll excuse us, Richard said, standing. Margaret and I need to speak privately. They left. Victoria took Daniel's hand. I'm sorry. They're worse than I thought. They're protective. It's natural. Daddy. Are they mad at us? Emma whispered. I don't think so, sweetheart. They just need time. 15 minutes later, Richard and Margaret returned. Richard looked at Daniel for a long moment. Mr. Brooks, Daniel. I spent my life building a company for my daughter, watching her sacrifice everything to make it succeed. She's brilliant and capable, but she was lonely. We worried. He glanced at Victoria. Then you came along, and suddenly she's smiling. Leaving work at reasonable hours. Talking about things other than profits and markets. You did that. We did that together, Daniel said. Perhaps. Richard sat. I don't pretend to understand how this happened, but I can see it's real, and I can see my daughter is happy. That matters more than pedigree or connections. Victoria's eyes filled. Daddy. However, Richard continued, if you hurt her, if you're using her in any way, you will answer to me. Understood. Understood. But I won't hurt her. I promise. Margaret smiled. Then welcome to the family, Daniel. And Emma, would you still like to see the art room? Emma's face lit. Yes, please. The rest of the evening passed pleasantly. Margaret showed Emma the art room stocked with supplies that made the girl gasp. Richard and Daniel talked business. Richard testing him, seeing if he understood the company. Daniel held his own. As they left, Margaret pulled Victoria aside. "He's good for you. Don't let this one go." "I won't, Mother. And that child, she's special." "She is. Bring them for Christmas. We'll do it properly. Family style." In the car, Emma chatted about art supplies Mrs. Hayes let her take home. Victoria leaned against Daniel's shoulder, exhausted but relieved. "That went better than expected," she said. "Your parents love you. They just needed to see I love you too. Do you love me?" Daniel glanced at her. "More than I thought possible." "Good. Because I'm not going anywhere." "Good." 3 months into their public relationship, trouble arrived in the form of Bradley Cooper, CFO. Bradley had been with Hayes Technology Group for 15 years. He'd risen through ranks, methodically following every protocol, checking every box. To him, the company was built on order and merit. Daniel's sudden promotion violated everything Bradley believed about how careers should progress. It started with an article in a business publication. Hayes Technology Group CEO's romance raises questions about corporate governance. The piece carefully avoided accusations, but the implication was clear. Victoria promoted her boyfriend, and now leadership was compromised. Bradley had been careful. Coffee meetings with board members, concerned emails about optics, whispered questions about whether other qualified candidates had been considered. For months he'd built his case, and now he was ready. The board meeting started normally. Quarterly results, budget reviews, strategic planning. Then Bradley made his move. "Before we adjourn, I'd like to address a concern that's been raised by several stakeholders." Bradley pulled out a folder. "It's regarding Daniel Brooks's promotion to VP of Operations." Victoria's jaw tightened. "What about it? I'm not suggesting anything improper," Bradley said, his smile careful. "But we need to acknowledge this situation creates an appearance problem. Our investors are concerned, our competitors are circling, and it's all because our CEO is involved with a subordinate. Daniel isn't my subordinate. He reports to the COO. Technically. But Victoria, you have to admit the optics are terrible. A mid-level manager suddenly becomes VP right around the time you start dating. How does that look to stakeholders? It looks like I promoted a qualified candidate who was being overlooked because he didn't play politics. Or it looks like favoritism." Bradley leaned back. "I'm simply suggesting that for the company's good, Daniel should step down from his VP role, return to his previous position, remove the appearance of impropriety." Daniel spoke before Victoria could. "If my presence is causing problems, I'll resign entirely." Daniel, no. Victoria started. "It's fine. Emma's my priority anyway. This promotion has been wonderful, but not at the cost of harming Victoria or the company." See, Bradley's smile widened. "Daniel understands. A graceful exit benefits everyone." "No." Victoria stood, voice sharp as glass. "Absolutely not. Daniel isn't going anywhere. Victoria, be reasonable." "I am being reasonable. You're trying to force out a valuable executive because you're bitter about not being considered for his position. You're using my relationship as a weapon, and I won't stand for it." Bradley's expression hardened. "Then perhaps you're not fit to be CEO. If you can't separate personal feelings from business decisions, don't." Victoria's voice could freeze blood. "Don't question my leadership. I've grown this company 300% under my direction. I've navigated hostile takeovers, market crashes, and endless attempts by bitter men to undermine me. I won't be pushed out because I fell in love. I'm not trying to push you out. I'm trying to protect the company. By attacking the man I love? By suggesting his competence is linked to our relationship?" Victoria walked around the table to where Bradley sat. "Here's what's going to happen. Daniel stays. His performance will be evaluated by an independent consultant, if that makes you feel better. But he earned his role, and he'll keep it based on merit alone. The board won't support this. Then let's ask them. Victoria turned to assembled board members. Show of hands. Who believes Daniel Brooks should be removed from his position? Bradley's hand went up. 2 others followed hesitantly. The rest remained down. The majority stands with me, Victoria said. So here's my final offer, Bradley. You can accept this gracefully, or you can tender your resignation. Choose. Bradley's face flushed red. You're making a mistake. The only mistake I made was not seeing your character sooner. You have until end of business today to decide. Bradley stormed out. The board meeting dissolved into chaos. Daniel sat still, processing what happened. Victoria had just gone to war for him, put her position on the line, chose him over politics and appearances. After everyone left, they were alone in the conference room. Victoria slumped in a chair, fight gone. Are you okay? Daniel asked. I don't know. I just threatened my CFO and challenged my board. This could backfire spectacularly. You didn't have to do that. I was ready to step down. I know. That's why I couldn't let you. Victoria looked up. Daniel, you were willing to give up your career to protect me, to protect the company. That's exactly the integrity I want on my team. If I let Bradley force you out, what does that say about my leadership? That you're pragmatic, that I'm a coward, that I value appearance over substance, that I'll sacrifice good people to appease bullies. She shook her head. I've spent my career fighting to be taken seriously as a woman in tech. I'm not going to undermine that by pretending our relationship invalidates your abilities. Daniel pulled her into his arms. She held on tight. What if this hurts the company, she whispered. What if investors pull out? What if? Then we'll figure it out, together. You might lose your job anyway. Then I lose it. Emma and I will be fine. We were fine before. We'll be fine after. I don't want you to lose anything because of me. Victoria. Daniel tilted her face up. Being with you isn't losing. It's winning. Whatever happens, we face it together. She kissed him, desperate and grateful. I love you. I love you too. The following week brought the independent review. A consulting firm evaluated Daniel's performance qualifications impact. They interviewed his team, reviewed projects, analyzed contributions. Daniel cooperated fully, despite the humiliation of having his competence questioned. Victoria stayed carefully distant, not wanting to influence results. The wait was excruciating. Emma noticed Daddy's stress, asked questions he couldn't fully answer. Victoria barely slept, running worst-case scenarios. Finally, the consultants presented findings to the board. After extensive review, the lead consultant announced, we find that Daniel Brooks's promotion was not only warranted, but overdue. His performance metrics exceed expectations. His team shows high satisfaction and productivity. His projects have generated measurable value. In our professional opinion, his relationship with Ms. Hayes played no role in his advancement beyond potentially delaying it. We found evidence he was considered for promotion 6 months before Ms. Hayes initiated his review, but the process stalled. The boardroom was silent. Then one member spoke. So you're saying he should have been promoted earlier? Correct. Mr. Brooks's skills were being underutilized. Bradley, still present but clearly on thin ice, tried one more attack. But the appearance? The appearance, the consultant interrupted, is that a CEO recognized talent others overlooked. There's no impropriety here, just good management. The vote was called. Daniel's position confirmed by overwhelming majority. Bradley was asked to resign, which he did with poor grace. That evening, Daniel and Victoria celebrated quietly at his apartment. Emma made a congratulations daddy banner hanging crooked in the kitchen. Mrs. Chen brought dumplings. Small and perfect. I can't believe that's over, Victoria said, leaning against Daniel on the couch. Me neither. Though I could have lived without my entire career being scrutinized, I'm sorry you had to go through that. Don't be. It proved I earned this. Nobody can say otherwise now. Emma climbed onto the couch between them. Daddy, does this mean Victoria can stay forever now? Daniel and Victoria exchanged glances. Would you like that? Victoria asked carefully. Me staying, duh. You're like family. Better than family. You're actually here. Out of the mouths of babes. Daniel chuckled. She has a point. I just have one question, Emma said seriously. When are you going to ask her to marry you because I want to be a flower girl and I'm not getting any younger? Daniel choked on his water. Victoria laughed so hard she cried. Emma, that's not, we haven't. Daniel stammered. Oh, come on, Daddy. You love her, she loves you. You live together, basically. Just make it official. Emma rolled her eyes. Grown-ups are so slow. After Emma went to bed, they sat together in comfortable silence. She's not wrong, Victoria said eventually. About which part? The slow part. We've been dancing around this for months. We love each other. We're building a life together. Why are we waiting? Because marriage is a big step. Because Emma's involved. Because you're scared. Daniel was quiet. Then, yeah, because I'm scared. Sarah and I had forever, and then we didn't. The idea of promising forever again, of believing it's possible. I'm scared too, Victoria admitted. I'm 38, and I've never been married, never even came close. I don't know if I'll be good at it. You're good at everything. I'm really not. I'm good at business. I'm learning to be good at relationships, at family, at letting people in. She took his hand. But I want to learn with you. I want to try. Daniel kissed her softly. Me too. So what are we waiting for? I guess nothing. They sat there, the future stretching ahead, uncertain but bright with possibility. Summer arrived humid and hot. Daniel and Victoria's home, theirs, now officially hummed with life. They'd moved to a house with a yard, kept Daniel's modest sensibility, but upgraded for space. Emma had her own room painted purple at her insistence, a home office for Victoria's late-night work, a kitchen big enough for Daniel's cooking attempts that still mostly ended burnt. Victoria's penthouse sold for an obscene amount. She donated most furniture to charity, kept only meaningful pieces. The rest of her life now fit in this house, in this family. She'd never been happier. She woke Saturday morning to Emma bouncing on the bed. Mom, wake up. We're making pancakes for Daddy, Mom. The word still made Victoria's throat tight. Emma started saying it 3 months ago tentatively. Is it okay if I call you Mom? Victoria had cried and said yes. Now it was natural. She was Mom. Not replacement for the mother Emma lost, but addition. Okay, I'm up. Victoria followed Emma to the kitchen. Daniel was already awake, reading news with coffee. Morning. He kissed Victoria, then Emma. Who's making pancakes? We are, Emma declared. You have to sit and relax. It's your turn. This should be interesting, Daniel said, grinning at Victoria. They made a mess. Flour everywhere, batter on the ceiling somehow. Emma insisted on flipping them herself, sending half onto the floor. Victoria laughed until her stomach hurt. When they finally produced something marginally edible, they served it to Daniel with ceremony. Best pancakes ever, he declared, though they were burnt on one side and raw on the other. You're a terrible liar, Daddy. Emma said. Yeah, but you love me anyway. Yeah, we do. After breakfast, they worked in the garden. Well, Daniel and Emma worked. Victoria mostly supervised, still learning the difference between weeds and flowers. She wore old jeans and Daniel's t-shirt dirt under her fingernails' hair in a messy ponytail. The CEO would be horrified. The woman, the mom, loved it. Mrs. Chen stopped by in the afternoon with dumplings. She'd become part of their family too, the grandmother Emma never had. They ate dinner in the backyard, citronella candles keeping mosquitoes at bay. Emma chasing fireflies while adults talked. "You two look happy," Mrs. Chen observed in Mandarin. "We are," Victoria responded slowly but correctly. "Good. Happiness looks good on you both." That night, after Emma's asleep, Daniel and Victoria sat on the back porch. Summer sounds, crickets, distant traffic, a neighbor's wind chimes. "Remember when you thought you'd be alone forever?" Daniel asked. "I remember thinking I was fine with it, that I didn't need anyone. And now I can't imagine life without you, without Emma, without this." She gestured at the house, the yard, the life they'd built. "It's messy and loud and nothing like I planned. And it's perfect. Even the burnt pancakes. Especially the burnt pancakes." Daniel pulled her close. "For what it's worth, I can't imagine life without you either. You saved me, you know. I was surviving but not really living, just going through motions for Emma's sake. You reminded me I could be happy again. We saved each other." "Yeah, we did." Daniel had been carrying the ring for 3 weeks, simple band with modest diamond because Victoria would hate anything ostentatious. He ordered it custom, had Emma's birthstone added inside, a family ring. But every time he planned to propose, something interrupted. Work crisis, Emma's school emergency, life happening. He was starting to wonder if the universe was sending a message. "Just ask her," Emma said one evening while doing dishes. "Why are you being weird?" "I'm not being weird." "You are. You check your pocket like every 5 minutes. Mum's going to think you have a medical condition." "Since when are you so observant? Since always, Daddy. You're just not paying attention." Emma handed him a plate to dry. "Do you want to marry her or not?" "Of course I do." "Then ask." It's not that complicated. But it was complicated, because Daniel had already been married, already stood at an altar and promised forever, already lost that forever in a single terrible moment. Asking again felt like tempting fate. "What if something happens?" he said quietly. "What if I promise forever and can't keep it?" Emma stopped washing, looked at her dad with eyes too wise for 8. "Daddy, you always tell me not to be scared of new things. So why are you scared? You love Mom. She loves us. That's good, right? So just ask her to marry you already. I want to be a flower girl before I'm too old." Daniel pulled Emma into a hug. "When did you get so smart? Been smart all along. You're just catching up." So Daniel decided. This Saturday, morning proposal, just the 3 of them. Simple and real and home. Friday evening, Victoria came home with news. Daniel was making dinner chicken that would probably be dry vegetables that might be mushy. Emma was doing homework at the kitchen table. "Family meeting," Victoria announced. "Everyone to the living room." They gathered on the couch, Emma between her parents. Victoria looked nervous, which made Daniel nervous. "What's wrong?" he asked. "Nothing's wrong. I have something to show you." She pulled out her tablet, opened a real estate listing. "I put the penthouse on the market 3 months ago. It sold last week." "That's great." Daniel wasn't sure where this was going. "With the money I've been looking at houses. Something bigger than this rental. Something that could really be ours." She swiped to different listing. "Beautiful house in good neighborhood, big backyard, 4 bedrooms close to Emma's school." What do you think? Daniel stared at photos. "It's wow! Beautiful." "Can we see it?" Emma bounced excitedly. "Can we go look?" "Actually, I already saw it. Last week." "And I." Victoria took a breath. "I bought it." Silence. Daniel processed. You bought a house for us, for the family. I know I should have asked first, but I wanted it to be a surprise. If you hate it, we don't have to move. I can sell it. But I thought maybe it could be a fresh start. A place that's ours from the beginning. Ours? Daniel's throat tightened. You bought us a house. Is that okay? I'm really bad at this. I don't know the rules. Do people consult before buying houses? I just saw it and imagined Emma playing in that backyard and us having coffee on that porch and… Daniel kissed her. It's perfect. You're perfect. So we're moving. Emma squealed. Apparently we're moving. Victoria sagged with relief. Thank God. I was terrified you'd think I was overstepping. You're not overstepping. You're building a life with us, our life, and that's exactly what I want. They spent the evening looking at the listing, making plans. Emma claimed the room with the window seat. Victoria wanted to convert one bedroom into an art studio for Emma. Daniel just kept staring at photos, overwhelmed by the generosity, by the commitment it represented. After Emma went to bed, Daniel found Victoria on the couch, looking at the listing again. Hey, he said softly. Hey, you sure you're okay with this? I know it was impulsive. I'm more than okay. Daniel reached in his pocket, pulled out the small box he'd been carrying for weeks. Though you did kind of steal my thunder. Victoria stared at the box. Is that… I was going to propose tomorrow morning. Had this whole plan. Pancakes and backyard and just us. But since we're apparently doing things out of order. He opened the box. The ring caught light, simple and perfect. Daniel. Victoria Hayes. You walked into my life drunk and stumbling, and somehow became the best thing that ever happened to me. You love my daughter like she's yours. You've shown me my heart can hold more than grief. You bought us a house. He laughed. So before you buy anything else, I should probably make this official. Will you marry me? Tears streamed down Victoria's face. You're really asking? I'm really asking. Yes. God, yes. 1,000 times, yes. He slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. She launched herself at him, kissing him through tears and laughter. I love you, she said. I love you so much. I love you too, even though you bought a house without telling me. Are you really mad about that? Not even a little bit. They heard footsteps. Emma appeared in the doorway, sleep rumpled. Did you ask her yet? You were supposed to be asleep, Daniel said. I was too excited to sleep. Did you… Victoria held up her hand, showing the ring. He did. Emma whooped so loud the neighbors probably heard. She ran over, launching herself at them both. We're really a family now. We were always a family, sweetie, Victoria said. Now we're just making it official. Can I be a flower girl? Absolutely. Can we move to the new house soon? As soon as possible. Can we get a dog? Don't push your luck, Daniel said. But he was laughing. They sat there, the three of them tangled on the couch, planning their future. A future that seemed impossible a year ago. A future built on one choice, to help one choice, to acknowledge one choice to love. 3 months later, they married in Lincoln Park. Small ceremony, just close friends and family. Mrs. Chen cried through the whole thing. Emma took her role as flower girl with utmost seriousness, though she also insisted on giving a speech during the reception. I'm 8 years old, Emma told assembled guests, and I've learned some important things. Like that families don't have to look like everyone else's, and that it's okay to love new people even when you miss old people, and that sometimes the best things happen when you least expect them. She looked at Daniel and Victoria. My daddy helped Mum when she was having a bad night, and she helped him remember how to be happy. And they both helped me see that our family could grow. So I guess what I'm saying is thank you for choosing each other, and for choosing me, Not a dry eye in the crowd. Victoria's vows were simple. I spent 38 years thinking I had to do everything alone. Then you drove me home one night drunk and stumbling and broken, and you didn't run. You stayed. You brought me water and asked for nothing. You introduced me to Emma, who taught me that families aren't born, they're chosen. You showed me that showing up matters more than being perfect. That love grows in burnt pancakes and bad braiding and soccer games in the rain. I choose you, Daniel. I choose Emma. I choose this messy, beautiful life we're building. Daniel's vows made Victoria cry. You asked me once why I helped you that night. I told you it was the right thing to do. But the truth, I saw someone drowning and remembered what that felt like. I didn't know that helping you would save me too, would show Emma that hearts can heal, would prove that the best chapters come when we least expect them. Sarah taught me how to love. You taught me I could love again. Thank you for that gift, for being brave enough to let me in, for loving my daughter like she's yours, for reminding me every day that joy can follow grief. They kissed as husband and wife, and Emma cheered louder than anyone. The reception was in a small restaurant, casual and intimate. No champagne towers or ice sculptures, just good food and people who loved them. Daniel and Victoria's first dance was to a song Emma picked, A Whole New World, because that's what they'd given each other. Late in the evening, Daniel found Victoria on the small patio taking a breather from the party. Hey, Mrs. Brooks. She turned, smiled at the name. Hey yourself. Happy deliriously. Any regrets about the fancy penthouse life you gave up? Not one. Victoria pulled him close. This is better. This is real. They stood there holding each other, sounds of celebration drifting from inside. Emma's laugh rose above the rest, joyful and free. We did good, Daniel said. Yeah, we really did. 1 year later, they were back at the Palmer House for the annual Tech Innovation Gala. Same ballroom, same chandeliers, same crowd of ambitious people in expensive clothes. But everything was different. Victoria and Daniel arrived together, her hand in his. She wore red again, nod to that first night, but she was sipping sparkling water, watching Daniel with eyes full of love. They found the exact spot where she stumbled a year ago, where he approached when everyone else turned away, where everything changed. Remember, Daniel murmured. How could I forget I was so drunk I could barely stand? And you were this stranger offering help I didn't think I deserved. You deserved it. Everyone deserves kindness when they're struggling. I'm glad you thought so. Otherwise, she gestured around them. None of this. They danced properly this time, Victoria sober and steady in Daniel's arms. Guests watched them with open affection, now not whispered speculation. The CEO and her husband, and her. The power couple who proved love doesn't undermine professional respect. During dinner, Victoria gave a speech to assembled executives and investors. Last year at this event, I learned the most important lesson of my career. Success means nothing if you're facing it alone. Building an empire is hollow if you don't have anyone to share it with. I spent 2 decades prioritizing business over everything else. And I was lonely, profoundly lonely. She found Daniel in the crowd. Then someone showed me kindness when I didn't deserve it. Someone saw past the CEO to the person underneath. Someone reminded me that vulnerability isn't weakness. It's humanity. I'm not going to pretend I figured it all out on my own. I had help. From a good man who became my husband. From a little girl who became my daughter. From people who reminded me that the metrics that matter aren't quarterly earnings or market share. They're love, connection, showing up for each other. She raised her glass of water. So here's to building lives that mean something beyond spreadsheets. To family, however we find it. Applause filled the ballroom. But Victoria only cared about 3 people clapping. Daniel Emma, who insisted on coming this year, and Mrs. Chen, who demanded photos. Later, heading to the car, a young woman approached. She was dressed professionally but looked nervous. Mr. Brooks. I'm sorry to bother you. I'm Samantha Park. I work in marketing. I'm a single mum trying to balance my career and being there for my daughter. Someone told me you might have advice. Daniel didn't hesitate. Let me buy you coffee Monday. We'll talk. After Samantha left, Victoria squeezed his hand. Look at you paying it forward. Someone helped me once. Changed my whole life. Least I can do is help someone else. They drove home through Chicago streets that looked different now. Not because the city changed, but because they had. Daniel wasn't just surviving anymore. Victoria wasn't just succeeding. They were living. Really living. Messily, imperfectly, beautifully living. Emma was asleep when they got home, Mrs. Chen dozing in the armchair. They woke her gently, thanked her, watched her go. Then they checked on Emma, sprawled across her bed with purple blanket and stuffed animals. Victoria tucked the blanket around her carefully. Good night, sweetheart, she whispered. In their own room, Daniel and Victoria got ready for bed in companionable silence, brushing teeth side by side, changing into pajamas, the mundane intimacy of marriage. Remember when you thought you'd be alone forever? Daniel asked as they settled into bed. I remember being terrified of needing anyone, of being vulnerable. And now I can't imagine life any other way. Victoria curled into his side. You saved me, you know. That night at the gala, you didn't just drive me home. You reminded me I was human. We saved each other. Yeah, we did. They fell asleep like that, tangled together, safe in the life they built, from one moment of choosing kindness over convenience. 5 years after that gala night, Daniel Brooks stood in the kitchen of the home Victoria bought them. The home that had become theirs in every sense. He watched his wife dance with their daughter to music only they could hear, flower dusting Victoria's designer jeans as Emma twirled under her arm. The pancakes are burning. Mom, Emma said now, 11 and too observant. Let them burn. I'm dancing with my girl. They'd added to their family. 2-year-old Thomas played with blocks in the corner building towers that defied physics. And sleeping in her crib upstairs was 6-month-old Sarah Grace, named after the woman whose death led Daniel to the parking lot that night, to the moment that changed everything. Sarah would have loved this, Daniel said quietly to Victoria later when the kids were occupied. The chaos, the noise, the family. You think about her a lot. Sometimes, not with pain anymore, more like gratitude. She taught me how to love, how to be a father. And even though losing her nearly destroyed me, I survived it, which meant I was still here when you stumbled into my life. Victoria leaned her head on his shoulder. I like to think she'd approve of us. She would. Sarah believed people should grab happiness wherever they find it. She'd tell me I was an idiot if I let you go. The doorbell rang. Richard and Margaret Hayes arriving for weekly family dinner. They'd become devoted grandparents, showing up reliably with food and toys and eager hands to hold babies. There's my Tommy Richard scooped up his grandson, who squealed with delight. Margaret already had Sarah in her arms, cooing softly. Emma showed them her latest art project, a painting for the school exhibition. Mom helped me with the shading, she explained proudly. The casual mom that came so naturally now. Watching his family, biological and chosen, messy and perfect Daniel, felt that familiar gratitude well up. The CEO who once commanded empires with ice now sat cross-legged on the floor playing dinosaurs. The single dad who thought love died with his wife discovered his heart could expand infinitely. The lonely woman and the grieving man found each other in the worst moment and built the best life. Monday brought Victoria's keynote speech at the Women in Business conference. She'd done dozens of these, but today was different. Today she was telling the full story. 5 years ago I got drunk at a company gala, she began voice steady. Couldn't find my driver, could barely walk. Every executive I worked with saw me stumbling and turned away, except one mid-level manager who drove me home in his 10-year-old Honda and asked for nothing in return. The room was silent, attentive. Victoria continued. I could have pretended it never happened. Fired him to protect my image. Let shame dictate my choices. Instead, I said thank you. That changed everything. Not just because we fell in love, though we did, but because acknowledging vulnerability instead of hiding it reminded me I was human. That power without humanity is just emptiness dressed in expensive suits. She talked about Emma, about learning to be a mother at 38, about Thomas and Sarah, and building a family that looked nothing like what she imagined, but everything she needed. About leaving the office at 5:30 for dinner, about burnt pancakes and school plays and choosing life over constant work. Success isn't avoiding failure, Victoria said. It's what you do the morning after. Do you pretend it didn't happen? Or do you look it in the eye and grow from it? I chose growth. I chose honesty. I chose love. Best business decision I ever made. The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes. Afterward, young women lined up with questions, with stories, with gratitude. One asked, how do you balance family and career without guilt? Victoria's answer was honest. I don't. Some days work suffers. Some days family does. But I stopped trying to be perfect at everything. I aim for present, for real, for enough. My daughter told me last week, Mom, you're not good at braiding hair, but you never miss a soccer game. That's what matters. Showing up. Being real. Loving imperfectly but completely. Another question. What advice for women afraid to be vulnerable? I spent years believing vulnerability was weakness. Then a widowed single father showed me that opening your heart is the bravest thing you can do. Letting people see you stumble doesn't diminish you. It makes you human. And humans connect. Humans love. Humans build families, chosen, messy, perfect families. Don't be afraid of needing people. Be afraid of living so defended that no one can reach you. Daniel waited outside after Emma and Thomas with him. Sarah was with Mrs. Chen. How'd it go? He asked. I told them everything. All of it. Good. Your truth is beautiful. They drove home together, kids chattering in the back. Victoria looked at her family, husband, children, the life they built from rubble, and marveled. 5 years ago she was drowning in champagne and loneliness. Now she was swimming in chaos and love. Thank you, she told Daniel. For what? For not walking away that night. Thank you for letting me help. 5 years after that gala night, Daniel Brooks stood in the kitchen of their home. The one Victoria bought because she wanted to wake up to his coffee and Emma's laughter. Watching his wife dance with their daughter to music only they could hear, while their 2 younger children built block towers that defied gravity. The CEO who once commanded empires with ice now got down on hands and knees to play dinosaurs. The single dad who once thought love died with Sarah discovered his heart could hold infinite rooms. They'd built something neither expected: a loud, chaotic, perfectly imperfect family, born from one moment of choosing kindness over convenience. At Hayes Technology Group, their story became legend, not scandal, but inspiration. Victoria still ran the company with brilliance, but now she left at 5:30 for family dinner. Daniel led operations while never missing Emma's soccer games. They proved that success didn't require sacrifice of soul, just clarity about what truly mattered. The board that once questioned their relationship now pointed to them as evidence that bringing your whole self to work, vulnerability, love, humanity, made leaders stronger. Profits soared because people followed leaders who were real, who showed that professional excellence and personal happiness could coexist, that loving deeply made you braver. And every year on the anniversary of that gala, Daniel and Victoria returned to the same ballroom. They'd stand where she stumbled, and he caught her dance where executives once watched her fall. But now those same people saw something different. Not a boss who had a moment of weakness, but a woman who found strength in admitting she needed someone. And the man who proved that sometimes heroism looks like refusing to look away. Because healing doesn't announce itself with trumpets. It arrives quietly in parking lots and worn Hondas in glasses of water left on coffee tables. It grows when broken people refuse to let each other stay broken, when barriers come down brick by careful brick. That night at the gala, neither was looking for salvation. But sometimes that's exactly when you find it, in the moment you stop pretending you don't need help, and in the moment someone brave enough decides to offer it. If this story touched your heart, we'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below telling us where in the world you're watching from. Have you ever experienced a moment when unexpected kindness changed everything? When someone saw you at your lowest and chose to help instead of look away? Share your story with us. And if this story reminded you that vulnerability is strength, that second chances are real, and that the best families are often the ones we choose, please hit that like button right now. Your like tells us that stories about hope and healing matter to you. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon so you never miss our new stories. We post heartwarming, true-to-life tales every week, stories that remind us what it means to be human, to struggle, to heal, and to love. Finally, share this video with someone who needs to hear it today. Someone who's going through a hard time. Someone who's forgotten that kindness still exists. Someone who needs to remember that it's never too late to open your heart again. Your share could be exactly what they need to hear right now. Thank you for being part of our Soul Lift Stories family. Until next time, remember that the smallest acts of kindness can change someone's entire world. Sometimes all it takes is refusing to look away when someone needs help. Sometimes the most heroic thing you can do is simply be there. We'll see you in the next story.